What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, the Sports Dr. Spock, Mickey Coleman, coming at you with another video for the Mickey Mike Love podcast. Kevin Nash, on his Click This podcast, recently named some of the best wrestlers, in his opinion, that he's ever worked with. Fair use, everybody, fair use. And go check out Kevin Nash's Click This page on YouTube. Click This, KLIQ space and THIS capitalized is how you'll find Mr. Nash's YouTube channel. So without any further ado, let's get on into it with Kevin Nash and his co-host. I'm not sure who he is, but let's find out.
Hey, if I had to tell you that Ric Flair publicly named the two best workers he's been in the ring with, who do you think he'd say?
Shawn Michaels.
Correct, for one. Very good.
Ricky Steamboat.
Yes, you got them both. That was. I thought you'd get the. I thought you'd get the Steamboat, but not the Michaels. Which is interesting to me because Rick's career really started before he was doing the Nature Boy thing. He was heavier, but 74 did he break in? 72, 74?
He was 300 at one point.
Yeah. And so through the 70s, so we're talking Harley Race, we're talking, I mean, he was in the ring with some of the legends of previous generations. It was interesting to me.
But not necessarily the workers. They could work, but the style was so different.
Which brings me to my question to you as I was considering all this. What qualifies someone as a great worker? Is it someone that, you see, when fans and writers who haven't wrestled, and I'm not shitting on that. You don't have to have wrestled to be a critic. You don't have to have been a filmmaker to be a film critic. But the one thing we'll never know is those intangibles that you guys feel in the ring when you're with somebody. Are they too stiff? Do I have to call everything? Did they have a good sense of what should come next?
To me, one of the hugest like you have to put equal parts of ingredients into something to make them a great worker. I think the first thing is believability. Like, are they believable? And it has nothing to do. Rey Mysterio was absolutely believable. So it has nothing to do with physical size. Then it's does their shit look real?
That's a good point. Because you see a lot of guys miss punches and mix kicks. And sometimes it's so obvious, and some guys do it a lot more than others, even in the AEW and WWE. And sometimes you see guys actually sell the mixed kicks. Sell is when you react in professional wrestling, for people who don't know. Go ahead, Kevin.
When they turn the gear on and they start throwing either boots or fists, does that look or mimic a shoot? I think that's huge. Because
so whereas somebody who does, like let's say a Paul Orndorff,
right,
who was very believable to me, Buzz Sawyer or someone like that, where it looked like he was kicking someone's ass. That might not, for another wrestler, like for you, that might not make him a great worker because maybe he was difficult in the ring in some way.
Well, I've only added two. That's only two things.
Please continue.
Yeah, I'm not done. Then, to me, it's are they a mark? If they're a mark, they're never going to be a great worker.
Define that, meaning that they believe their own shit?
If they won't put people over, if it's like, yeah.
So if you're a mark for yourself?
If they're just a mark for themselves and just, and then I always had a problem with anybody that talked about their character backstage as you were putting together a match, or putting together something third person. Well, I just don't see, I just don't see Oz doing that. Hey, dude, you can do whatever.
Oz is one of his first characters when he first got to WCW. The first time he was Oz, he was very new to the business, kind of green, and they made him Oz. He was also Vinny Vegas, and he was supposed to be like a Las Vegas bookie or whatever, or a Las Vegas bouncer, something like that. Go ahead, Kevin.
Do whatever you want to do. People used to always say, "Man, you're so big. How am I going to get you off your feet? Drop kick me in the face, a bump. Throw 3 good punches, bounce me off some ropes, kick my leg out. I'll take a face bump.
Right.
Like, we'll just make it make sense." So,
where do you place value on in the TV age? You worked in the television age, so somebody being able to take the microphone from the across the ring from you and give you something to work with verbally, like a good actor, right? When you're in a scene and somebody looks you in the eye.
Huge, especially if you're going out there and it's just a live mic, and you both know that you've got to know where you're going. You can't cut a promo on a guy that you're not going someplace with. Like, if we're going to Moline, then we at least know if I'm going to cut a promo at you. You're the babyface. You're gonna tie it up in a bow and sell some tickets to where we're going, which is Moline. I saw something the other day. Somebody wrote. They said, I would rather do 5 moves 10,000 times than do 1,000 moves once. And that's kind of how I looked at things.
3 of your ex-boyfriends died.
Oh, commercial.
Sure, a few of my exes are dead.
Commercial. A few of your exes.
Would you agree with Rick with the 2 names he gave as
of the greatest workers?
Greatest workers, Sean and Ricky? Did they check all the boxes that you just gave?
I didn't get a chance to work with Rick when
Really?
I was in my prime. So I would put Brett and Sean, but man, it's impossible for me not to put Paul, Sean Waltman, and Scott Hall in that.
Paul
It's
Levesque, Triple
impossible
H.
for me not to put Undertaker in that. It's like, Mach. I always thought that when it came down, especially house shows, like working with Hogan was always, because you didn't have to do much, but man, his timing and his sensibilities and
Was Macho? Was he one of those that might talk about himself in the third person,
no.
or was he cooperative?
He wasn't a mark at all.
Okay.
I just think that I think it was such a Shark Tank in that era that you just knew that you had to fight. For you weren't going to be. Vince wasn't going to give you a spot, and Vince loved to stir it. He liked that it was a Shark Tank.
Because it made you guys work harder.
Yeah.
Right. Shawn Michaels, a difficult personality during his heyday.
That's what they say. They say Shawn Michaels is a very difficult person to work with as far as outside the ring. They said he was so good inside the ring that he was easy to work with, and a lot of people who've wrestled him said that he's the best that they've ever been in the ring with. But they say he didn't really want to do jobs for anybody, especially back then, and that he mistreated a lot of people back in his heyday. So I think this is where the guy is going in this. If you know this guy's name, put it in the comment section, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Did any of that disqualify him from being on the best ever? He might not have talked himself in the third person, but I'm sure he wasn't easy to, if you were his opponent.
He had a really high standard. There was no such thing as ever taking a night off. Like Scott was the same way. Scott was like, hey man, these people pay a lot of money for this. I'd be like, man, whatever.
He didn't care.
So he was more in that zone than you were, even.
Who?
Scott.
Oh, me? My whole thing was I gave what I had, but at the same time, I did know where I was, and I did see the house. I did know what my payoff was, and I also knew that I had another, 17 nights ahead of that. So
you pace yourself?
I call it the reverse Cleopatra. Cleopatra just laid there, and thousands of men came and made love to her. Where you had to sit there and go out and bust a nut, and you had to do it night after night after night. It's just like, if you give everything you got to Tupelo, you might not have what
you're not going to make it to Moline.
Yeah, you might not have what you need in St. Louis.
Okay, on that note, hopefully you guys in Moline and St. Louis get to bust that nut today and soon, and you can stay in that city and bust all the nuts you need to nut. Yeah, whatever. This has been your boy, the Sports Doctor Spock, Mickey Coleman. We have just reviewed a video, or part of a video, on the Click This channel from Kevin Nash. You can go ahead and subscribe here. And you can check me out on Sports Talk Radio. Go ahead and subscribe there, and subscribe right here to the Mick and Mike Love podcast, where we have plenty of videos, all kinds of reaction videos, and are about 7 or 18 shows for you guys to check out. Until later, this is your boy, the Sports Doctor Spock. I am gone, y'all.